welcome to What Are We Talking About with Jamie Jakes. I am him, and I am sitting here with a large group of brilliant geniuses. One who just cleared his throat into the microphone, was not on mute. Here they are. Welcome, one and all, each and every one of you here today. We are going to cover the top 10 Super Bowl winning trades. That's the top 10 contenders for the Super Bowl. Each one of those teams that can win the Super Bowl, this is a trade they need to make before the deadline in week 8 to win it. How are we feeling, Anthony Ramoz?
I'm glad you asked, Jamie. It's been a rough week being a Chargers fan and everything. I might have said some things last week that I'm not going to take back, but, we're here. We're alive for another week, so cheers to that, buddy.
I'm drinking with you. You had a couple real spooky takes last week.
Oh, yeah.
Not so spooky this week, Mr. Anthony. James, how you doing? NFL Insider James, how you doing, buddy?
I'm excited. Nothing better than trade speculation to get the blood flowing. I think this is the greatest time of the year for any sport whenever we make theoretical trades. It's the best time of the year. I'm excited. Can't wait to get into it.
Took the words right out of my mouth. Best time of year, trade deadline. I've said it once, I'll say it again. Miles Francis sitting beneath me. What's up, buddy?
I'm here for the Halloween more than the trade deadline, I'll be honest, but I'm still stoked.
Oh, do you have a new tagline? You are an NFL expert and comedy amateur.
Trying out new things.
Okay. You got your full name now with your at afterwards, Mr. Most Days Off.
Yeah, I made a joke on here last week. It counts.
Okay. And sitting on down that away, Andrew, how you doing, buddy?
Good. This is the best part of NFL season. We can really tell the cream is rising, so let's get ready to go. Excited.
The cream always rises to the top. I'm glad you said it, Mr. Andrew, because my first team that I'm going to cover, Super Bowl contending team, the Detroit Lions. What do they need to become a Super Bowl champion? What's the trade that's going to make them a Super Bowl champion? And the trade, old Marv just got released today. I think he was like stepping away from football, basically retiring. Wasn't much of a wide receiver for the Lions anyway. But I have a wide receiver, and his name is Treylon Burks from the Tennessee Titans, a guy who has been known to be on the trade block. Tennessee Titans are selling. They've already sold Mr. Beard over to, who did Beard go to?
Eagles.
He went to the Eagles. Just yesterday, that was announced, big-time safety that they've already traded away. Treylon Burks adds a lot of size to the Lions, 6'2", 225. Him and Laporta, I think, will make real matchup issues for all the teams that they're going to face. And he's the guy I think is just going to bring them up above where they need to be. Amon-Ra St. Brown, of course, will still be the number one wide receiver there. I think Jamison Williams has been a little bit of a disappointment, at least based on their belief in him, drafting him so high in the first round over 2 years ago. And then, they have Josh Reynolds too, who's great, but not great as a wide receiver too. So I think the Lions add another weapon. They get a wide receiver. They could win the Super Bowl because of it. Number 2 on the list, the Seattle Seahawks. This is an easy one because they just lost Muso, if I'm saying that correctly, for the season with a season-ending injury. So they are going to go over to the Washington Commanders and they are going to grab Chase Young to fill in for him at the pass rusher position. The Eagles recently, like we already said, sturdied up their defensive backfield with Kevin Byard, a great safety and a position of need for them for sure. I think offensively, defensively that solidifies their backfield. I think if they are going to take another piece, I think it will be on the offense. And that piece I think they need is running back. And I think the piece that fits best with this team, because they got the tush push, they don't need to get short yardage gains. They need a check down guy. And I think that guy is Dalvin Cook from the New York Jets, another guy that's known to be on the trading block. Another guy I would definitely expect to be dealt this year. My 4th team, Super Bowl contender, will be the Baltimore Ravens. And this is more like a vibe thing. They definitely do need more wide receivers. Like the number one wide receiver right now is a rookie, Zay Flowers. He's great, but I don't know. I would like a veteran wide receiver to have stepped up there over Zay Flowers. And of course they have Mr. Mark Andrews there at tight end, serving as a great option at the tight end position. But I think they add a wide receiver, and I think they add an old white wide receiver, Adam Thielen from the Panthers. I think it's just a scheme fit. I think he'll be great, like a little check down guy for Lamar Jackson. Keep him inside the pocket. He's having a career year for no reason. And I think he's just a great fit over there with the Ravens, who already just to pair Adam Thielen with the rest of their weapons there, including Odell Beckham Jr., I think would just be hilarious. Anthony, what do you think about it, buddy?
I agree that the Lions probably do need another wide receiver, like you were saying, but I actually would like to see a veteran in that position at their wide receiver too. I don't think anyone on the trade block is going to take over Amon-Ra, but I would actually like to see Adam Thielen in a Lions uniform. I think Adam Thielen, even though he has been kind of a travel man all throughout his career, he has shown that he still has the capability to be a solid wide receiver choice. I think that Adam Thielen on the Lions can't really go wrong there. As far as Seattle and Philly go, no opinions there. Philadelphia also added somebody else from the Titans recently onto their lineup, didn't they? Not that safety, but somebody else they added. I can't remember. But
Brown?
Yeah, they've been adding so many weapons to the arsenal. I don't think Philadelphia needs anybody else. And as far as the Ravens, I agree as well that they do need a wide receiver and somebody that I think is better than their current wide receiver one in Denver. That's Cortland Sutton. I think Cortland Sutton in Baltimore would be really dangerous, not only because he's dangerous in the check down because he explodes for yards after catch, but also he can run those deep routes, and Lamar likes to air it out sometimes. Cortland Sutton in Baltimore could be a really dangerous weapon.
Hey, Anthony, I love that out of you, especially. So I think, Adam Thielen could be a Motor City Dan Campbell type of guy. I think that's a good call out of you. I didn't really envision it, but everyone's for sale. Literally everybody's for sale in Denver. Cortland Sutton being one of them. He's a great weapon for them. And I would love to see him catching the balls over there in Baltimore. Mr. James, what do you think, buddy?
Yeah, I definitely liked the Lions one. Coming into this, I had the Lions as taking, quote, literally any wide receiver, because that's definitely what they need. The Hawks, I actually think you might have the wrong Washington man. I think Jonathan Allen might be the guy leaving Washington.
You mean Sweat?
No, Jonathan Allen on the Washington Commanders, I believe, is going to be the person traded instead of Chase Young in that situation.
Okay.
And then for the Ravens, I had Derrick Henry, another Alabama guy. Shocker, I know. I think that could fit really well with one of the few teams that still uses a fullback. I think that combination is great. And I'm also really holding out hope that Hollywood Brown will come back to the Ravens. I think that would be a great circle of life moment for the Ravens, and they would have a good connection again with those two. Those guys were burning it up first couple of years. I'd be very intrigued to watch that happen again.
Yeah, the only reason I kept him off the list is because reportedly the organization already came out and said we're not trading him. So interior lineman you're looking for, and then you said Derrick Henry to where?
Ravens as well. I think the Ravens. I think they'd add two pieces.
Get everybody.
This year. Okay. I think this might be the year for them to finally nut up and go in all in. They also no longer have Ozzie Newsome. Ozzie Newsome, probably the greatest GM of all time. Some guy who actually looks forward in the future. I think now that they don't have a GM that's actually smart, maybe he'll go all in on the playoff push and the Super Bowl push. So there's actually a chance the Ravens will make a dumb trade and go all in this year. So I'm hoping for that. I would love to see them win one Super Bowl and then collapse in the next 6 years.
I just like Gus Edwards too much, man. I'd like to see him get the ball more. I think he's a great football player. Andrew, what do you think?
Now for the Lions, I think they need to go Brian Burns. I'm going to go defense. Another ruthless pass rusher on the other side of Hutchinson and the rest of that defense can really help alleviate the weakness in the secondary. I really think they have the picks, they have the cap space. It's something that could be a good deal for them. For the Seahawks, I'm loving Jonathan Allen. For the Commanders. That's a big interior presence. I can give them a push. That cover 2 Seattle scheme could use that guy up the middle. That's good for them. Back in the day, they had Michael Bennett, Cliff April. They were rotated inside and made a big difference on that defense, that scheme. Now for the Ravens, I know the Raiders said they weren't trading him, but this is just classic GM speak. I think they need to go all in on Devontae Adams. This guy is brutally unhappy, and with Lamar, he can take them to a Super Bowl. He can be that magic elixir that offense needs to move the chains consistently. So if I'm them, I'm going first. You can have it.
Hell yeah! I think the opposite side pass rusher was drafted in the same class as Aiden Hutchinson for the Lions. He's great. I think he's fine. That's why I chose wide receiver, because I think they really do have a weak wide receiver core. I think Jared Goff has really been carrying the team lately, and I don't see that as super sustainable. And it be a lot more sustainable to win a Super Bowl, which is so tough if you had another big old guy out there like Traylon Burks. So that's why I went the way I did. But I love your takes, Mr. Andrew. Mr. Miles, what do you think?
First, I do think, like Andrew said, the Devontae Adams thing, I really do feel like the Raiders are just gearing up to try to raise his value as much as possible before a trade happens. He's not happy. They're not winning. It would be a logical sense to see him go somewhere where they could be used, like the Lions, for instance. But I actually, once again on that one, I think especially after this last week, they gave up 38 points to the Ravens. It's hard not to say that the Lions don't need a little bit more help on defense more than they do. Maybe I'm putting too much value in Goff. I know I sure did for a fantasy trade this weekend, but despite that, I really think that the Lions defensive unit could use more help in their offensive unit.
Hell yeah. And you traded in a redraft league, point per first down, point per reception. You traded Jared Goff and for
it was Goff and Addison for Davis and Love. I did that backwards. It was Addison and Love for Goff and Davis. It's 100% because I'm stacked in wide receiver. I'm hurting in quarterback, and Jordan Addison hadn't done shit until about 24 hours ago.
Yeah, I still think you're going to be fine in that trade in the long run. But yeah, definitely a rough week to do it. And we made it all the way around the table. So that means we are going to move on to the next part. The next 4 teams I have up on the list: Super Bowl contender Dolphin. They have Ramsey coming back pretty soon. So I don't think I'm too concerned about their defensive secondary. Obviously, I'm not going to improve the offense. Like, how could you? It's like literally the best offense of all time. So that's why I'm sending Sweat over from the Commanders, an edge rusher, to the Miami Dolphins to get some pressure on the quarterback. Jalen Ramsey on the back end can make things happen. For the Chiefs, I think it's pretty obvious where they need help. Their defense has been great. Their offense has been what's sputtering, and that's because Patrick Mahomes has been asked to do way too much for this offense, even for him. He needs another weapon. Obviously, tight end's not that position that they need a weapon in. It's wide receiver. So for that reason, I think they are going to go and grab Darnell Mooney to stretch the field, make some more room for Travis Kelce and Rashee Rice underneath. Running backs, I think, are fine. They got a committee there, and that's just how they roll. So I wouldn't want to add a running back to their team. That's why I think Darnell Mooney would be the best Super Bowl winning pre-deadline trade that the Chiefs can make at this moment. The 49ers, they have lost 2 games in a row. They've both been on the road, and they've both had injuries to their all-star left tackle. So I'm just going to add a little bit of depth to the position and have them go ahead and grab Trent Brown, offensive tackle, to fill that role. Just a little depth piece. Next on the list, the Cleveland Browns. Okay, so they have been rumored to be getting a wide receiver or an offensive lineman. They've been making calls around town to try and fill one of those positions. Elijah Moore has been a little bit disappointing. Goodwin's been fine. Donovan Peoples-Jones has been fine as a 3. Obviously, Amari Cooper is a superstar, deserves to be number 1 overall. They ironically traded preseason an offensive tackle away, a depth piece away, because DeJuan Jones was so good. And then week 1, like 3rd play of the season, it seemed like our right tackle goes down out for the season. But I think we all know what the Cleveland Browns need. Pass rusher, right? Myles Garrett and Zadarius Smith not doing it well enough. No, obviously quarterback, right? Deshaun Watson keeps on going in for MRIs, keeps on going in for concussion screenings. He doesn't want to play, or his coaches are benching him. It's a clusterfuck there. And that's why my biggest reach out of my list, my least realistic reach or prediction rather in the whole list is we got to go and get Kirko Cousins. We got to get Kirko Chains in brown and orange. His kids don't want to change schools. He doesn't want to move his house. We're keeping him in the Midwest. He's on a Super Bowl contending team. Kirk Cousins would be embraced fully. And now the Vikings can sell high after that big Monday night win. Whole world was watching. Vikings sell high on Kirk Cousins, trade him to the Cleveland Browns for Deshaun Watson and a second round draft pick. Just kidding about that last part. But I think the Browns need to win a Super Bowl this year, or their window is going to very quickly close. And they're obviously still a quarterback away, no matter which way you slice it. Anthony Ramos, what do you think, buddy?
You know, you said, how can you make Miami's offense even better? I got a great idea in that. Give them a better tight end. I think who could actually really benefit in that? Throw Zach Ertz in that offense.
Zach Ertz.
Let's see Zach Ertz in the Miami uniform. Dude. I think Zach Ertz would make that offense just stupid. A whole nother level above.
Yeah, I guess.
You know, how could you even compete at that point? Because now you have threats everywhere. Because who's throwing in the ball over in fucking Arizona? Don't even answer. Nobody. Nobody's throwing in the fucking ball over in Arizona. Zach Ertz is still a threat. I think people forget about that. Put him in a Miami uniform, all of a sudden everyone's going to remember. The Chiefs, you know, I agree that they do need some help at wide receiver, but I don't think Darnell Mooney is the answer. I actually would go with another Cardinal and Marquise Brown. I think Marquise Brown would act like Andy
you know that
Reid,
the Cardinals aren't just like a scrap team for parts, right? Like
they might as well be, dude.
Yeah.
Look, Andy Reid has a habit of taking these average players and making them into superstars. I think Marquise Brown could be one of those people. Maybe he won't be the wide receiver one, but he's a very reliable wide receiver two option. The 49ers don't have anything to say there. And with the Browns, I agree with you, Jamie. They do need a quarterback. But you know who I think would be a better quarterback than Kirk Cousins, who's on his way out?
Don't say Ryan Tannehill.
No. This is a little bit of a reach. Cooper Rush. I think Cooper Rush. I think Cooper Rush is better than Dak Prescott. I think Cooper Rush is being robbed of a career. And if you put him in the right organization and give him a starting position, Cooper Rush can be a threat. Cooper Rush can be coached into maybe not a top tier quarterback, but definitely one that can get you to the playoffs. I think Cooper Rush is not a bad choice there.
This Browns offense, basically, I mean, obviously you lose Nick Chubb. That's going to be a massive hit no matter what way you scratch it. But Jacoby Brissett performed very well in this offense last year. Was like literally like the 12th best quarterback when he was playing last year. So yeah, I mean, it's not that fucking hard. All right, your offensive line's fine. Yeah. You got fucking Amari Cooper out there, Moss and people every fucking game. Just, I mean, you know what? To be fair to Deshaun, he really is proving that he really did need 26 individual massage therapists, because now that he doesn't have each one of those massage therapists, like he doesn't have one for the subscap. He doesn't have one for the infraspinatus. Like he needs one for every single rotator cuff muscle for every bruise on his body. And he's just not tough enough to go without him. So, yeah, super frustrating for the Cleveland Browns. What a clusterfuck. Lucky the referees handed them the game against the Colts last week. Mr. James, what do you think?
So I'm intrigued by the Dolphins getting the edge rusher. However, Montez Sweat has a very large cap hit, and unfortunately the Dolphins are third worst in cap space at only 2.2 available. I think the only logical for all, you know, It matters in the long run, and it matters. In my opinion, I think the only person that they could logically go after here is Carl Lawson on the Jets. He's the only person with a cap hit close to 2.2. It's at $3 million, so I bet we can find $800K to throw somewhere in here. But I think that's a more logical move for them. They're going to have to get a younger guy, maybe give up a couple more assets because they'll need that controllable contract just with the cap situation that they have over there. I love the Niners offensive tackle. That makes a ton of sense. Speaking of cap hits, 49ers actually have the largest amount of cap space available. Totally unfair, but that is the truth. They can easily eat up that contract, and that's a huge advantage right now. Trent Brown has a very large contract. It's one where if they're going to have to trade him to any other team, most of the other teams are going to have them eat part of that contract. Niners one of the few teams that don't have to eat any of the contract, which means they're probably going to get a better price for him. So very, very much like that. I will throw my crazy quarterback strategy here and as well with the Cleveland Browns. I say, why not Trey Lance? He's been hopping around all along. It's another athletic quarterback. Why not? Why not? No, the Browns have the cap hit to take on Kirk Cousins, so that actually is one of the few teams that makes sense for them to go to. They need a quarterback. They have that cap space. I think it is definitely the most logical team to go to, but as somebody who has Trey Lance in his dynasty league and doesn't want to give him up yet, please just trade for him, Cleveland. Maybe it will work out.
I don't think it'll work out. I mean, yeah. So 49ers certainly helps when your quarterback is given the old rookie $60 million a year discount because he's playing like a $60 million quarterback and he is getting paid like not that much. A lot more closer than our tax bracket than he should be. I'll say that. Mr. Andrew making our way around the round table. What do you think?
Let's see. Who did we go first? The Dolphins.
So Dolphins, I had Sweat going there. The Chiefs, I had Mooney. Niners, I got them filling in an offensive tackle, Trent Brown. And the Browns, I have them going quarterback.
So the Dolphins, with their two losses, there have been two glaring things that show their weakness. Their offensive line is obviously their weakest link. I know they don't have the cap space, but I'm pretty sure they restructured Brad Chubb's contract and maybe Xavier Howard's. They could have the cap space swing for Garrett Bowles, left tackle of the Broncos. Teron Armstead is having just such a hard time just staying healthy. This is, I think he can also switch to the right side. He used to play right side as a rookie and for the first couple years of the Saints. But picking up Bowles, help cover the left side, solidify the offensive line, give Tua a little bit more time to find deeper routes and run, improve the running game and go up between the tackles. Now, for the 49ers, I think they should go to the Broncos, who are obviously in a fire sale, and get back McGlinchey, who was their starting right tackle last year before he left the free agency. This is something where they could give, a second-round pick, and maybe the Broncos eat more of the cap space. But it's a good win for San Francisco. He knows their system. He's a solid player. He's a great run and pass blocker. And then the Cleveland Browns, what more obvious quarterback out there to get than Jacoby Brissett? This guy knows the system, knows his teammates. He's
Andrew
ready
gets
to play.
It, guys.
But also, if you're the Browns and you don't like making moves that make sense, why not go after Kyler Murray? Why not get another high, purebred quarterback who has no problems off the field? It's another way to do it. Who needs picks? Fuck them picks.
Or when Kyler Murray comes back healthy, that Josh Dobbs guy, something about him makes me think that he would do pretty well in the brown and orange. Oh, yeah, we traded him over there for like a 5th-round draft pick in the preseason. Oh, yeah, I forgot.
And a bag of chips.
Literally.
You guys are forgetting that the new Call of Duty releases next month, so Kyler Murray is not going to be available for the rest of the season.
Stats drop right
this
there,
is the brand new Kyler Murray. This isn't the same old Kyler Murray from back in the Disney.
He's a Medal of Honor guy now.
Yeah. Miles, what do you think?
I think with the Dolphins, Sweat going there, I really love it just from the upside of the merchandise based on the climate alone. There's more sweat in Miami. Boom. Yep. That sells itself. Put that on a wristband. The Chiefs obviously need a wide receiver. Dude, Kadarius Toney has just been a disappointment. Rashid Rice has been great, but just giving Mahomes somebody other than Rice and Kelsey to go to would be really useful for his longevity and their well-being. I'm going to go a weird one on these next two. I might straight up get uninvited off this podcast with my comment on the Browns. But for the 49ers, I feel like collectively we all agreed early in the season that they had the best defense. And I feel like week after week after week, they have just slidden down the line on that. And I really feel like to rejuvenate what they had special early on, they need to reinvigorate that defense somehow. I don't know what the right move is. I'm not going to pick a player, but I just think that, again, that's a team that they've got so many weapons when they're healthy on offense. I don't really see them needing another one. Defense would make more sense to me. The pick for the Browns, it's still a quarterback. I think we all agree on that. This is a stretch. I think Russell Wilson.
Wow.
Hear me out.
I love it.
Shanahan allegedly, everybody allegedly, anonymous source from the Broncos locker room today, allegedly Shanahan is saying he doesn't like Russ. I don't think they vibe with each other at all. I think you send Russell Wilson to a place like Cleveland, it's going to take a little bit of that crazy distraction shit away from him a little bit more. I think that he's going to already know that he can work in orange, so it's not a total stretch. I think that could theoretically be the move that would make the Browns a contender for sure.
That is the most brilliant take I have ever heard. Not even out of you, Miles Francis, not even on this podcast. Just like,
hey, it says NFL expert for a reason, sir.
The NFL expert for a reason. Miles Francis, Mr. Most Days Off on Instagram. Yeah, Coach Stefanski would love working with Russell Wilson. He's such a fucking nerd, just like Stefanski. He'll go out on his shield. Like, he's not going to have any like character issues with Russ. He's already sick of Deshaun. Obviously, they don't get along. And yeah, they can afford him. Everyone's for sale in Denver. They've said it before. They've said it again. They've said it a million times leading up to this trade deadline. Why wouldn't Russell Wilson go into the 4-2 Cleveland Browns and just ride Amari Cooper into a Super Bowl? Like, it's so brilliant, Miles.
What's the Dog Pounds logo or slogan? Sorry. I want to see a promo of him doing that.
I really wish Boston would just pop up in the microphone and join you for a second.
Yeah. There he Let's
is.
Go, Dog Pound. Like 14 takes. Woo. Okay, now I'm going to do it a little bit quieter. Woo. Like, yes. Russell Wilson cringe barking into a camera needs to happen. Oh, my God. Yeah, that would be great. Midwest boy too, played in Wisconsin. That makes way too much sense. I'm all the way in. Better than my idea. Moving on to my last 4 Super Bowl contenders. Number 1, the Buffalo Bills. They need a running back. They don't need a wide receiver, obviously. I think that defense is fine. They need a running back, and the running back that fits their scheme the most, he's been mentioned before on this show already, Derrick Henry. He's going to be the goal line guy. He's going to open up the field for Stephon Diggs. So obvious. Get Derrick Henry to the Buffalo Bills. I think that's something that's probably out of all the things that we picked the most likely to happen out of this list, if I'm entirely honest. Derrick Henry to the Bills. The next one, the Dallas Cowboys. That defense was lights out until they lost Trayvon Diggs. And for that reason, I think they need help in the defensive secondary, and I think that help comes from Denver by way of Kareem Jackson or Patrick Surtain. Kareem Jackson, the guy who just got suspended 4 games for throwing the crown of his helmet into a receiver's chin this past week. Patrick Surtain, I think second-year lockdown cornerback for the Broncos. My question is, which is the Jerry Jones move? Does he go for the young superstar, or does he go with the currently suspended guy with a checkered past on a discount to solidify his secondary? I don't know the answer. That's why I had to put an either or up there. And then another guy that's already been mentioned for the Bengals. It is an offensive weapon. I think they are in much more need of a solid tight end than whoever Zach Ertz was recommended to earlier. I can't remember. The Dolphins, Zach Ertz, the Dolphins. Yeah. I think he would look way better in orange and black down there in Cincinnati. Irv Smith, just not good sign when he's your like number one tight end. Jags. The Jags have the 7th lowest sacks this season, and they have not had a bye yet. The Jags have the 2nd most interceptions this year. We all know Trevor Lawrence is good at football. We all know ETN is good at football. We all know his backup, Tank Bigsby, is good at football. We all know that their wide receivers, Ridley and Kirk, are good at football. Their offensive line is fine, and you're not going to get a new starter this time of year anyway. So that's why I think the Jags win the Super Bowl if they sign, or they trade for rather, Danielle Hunter and Brian Branch. They get 2 pass rushers because the secondary is doing their job. They're picking balls off. They're obviously talented. They're not getting enough pressure on the quarterback, and that's going to be their Achilles heel all season. So I think the Jags make 2 moves and get both edge rushers for both sides. Anthony Ramos. I went Derrick Henry to the Bills. Cowboys get some help in the secondary. The Bengals get Zach Ertz, and Jags get some pass rushers.
So for the Bills, as much as it's going to hurt me to say, yes, they do need a running back. And there is a running back that could possibly be convinced to be traded because it's obvious he's not happy where he's at. And it hurts me because it's Austin Eckler. I think Austin Eckler going to the Bills does make sense. Austin Eckler is arguably one of the best running backs in the league. The Chargers have a history of not paying good players. And if you see recent interviews with Austin Eckler, he is not very happy with how this team is turning out. And I think the Bills could definitely use somebody like him. Dallas, I agree. They do need help in the secondary, but I'm going to argue Julian Blackmon from the Colts. I think Julian Blackmon could definitely improve a little bit, but he could thrive in a defense that's already top tier. He already does pretty well in a very mid-tier defense. I think if you put him with other superstars, he seems like one of those players that really thrives off their energy and is just going to get better. As far as the Bengals go, they are more than likely going to lose T. Higgins. So I think they need a solid wide receiver too. And in that, I see Darnell Mooney. I think Darnell Mooney would, because then at that point, you really have 2 wide receiver ones, if we're being honest. But he's not going to take the job away from Jamar Chase. But Darnell Mooney and Jamar Chase is a very scary wide receiver lineup right there. And as far as the Jags go, I agree they do need help up front. And I like the idea of them going for 2 people. So I would say Danielle Hunter as well. But where I say different is go for Chase Young as well. Okay. I think those 2 on that defense are gonna definitely get them to the Super Bowl. They have the potential.
The only reason I put those 2 in particular for the Jags is the Jags run this like funky scheme where they like their pass rushers to drop back into coverage every once in a while, and that's not Chase Young's game.
Nope.
So we're pretty simpatico. I don't think the Bengals need another wide receiver. I think Zach Ertz blocking wise, because they've had trouble running the ball too, could really use some help. And I think he stretches out the field, gets open. So I think he's a better overall fit for that offense, because I think that offense does get healthy. The wide receiver room does get healthy as the season goes on. Eckler, I didn't even consider him as a guy who could be on the trade block. The Chargers haven't openly really said, to that I'm aware, as nothing's been leaked, that they are selling at this point in the season, but they are currently projected to get the 8th overall pick in the draft.
Dude, it's Spanos. Spanos is one of those dudes where if you offer him a good enough deal, he'll sell you his fucking child. He doesn't care. So I can definitely see Eckler going if the right amount of money is placed in front of Spanos.
Yeah. Josh Kelly did have a big run last week too. And Eckler did, I think, left with another ankle injury or something like that by the end of the game. Very interesting move. Not something I considered. So great take, Anthony. Bravo. And Mr. James, what do you think?
I love the idea of Derrick Henry to the Bills. I don't know if that's where he'll end up, but it's definitely giving Marshawn Lynch vibes, which would be an amazing time.
Oh, yeah.
Buffalo. So I think that's a great fit. Damian Harris also out for the season, more than likely. Good inside runner there, so it makes a lot of sense that they'd get another good guy who's good at running inside, but also who can break off a couple of runs. I'd be interested to see that. Cowboys, I think Patrick Surtain makes a little more sense. He has played with Diggs. I know Diggs is out for the rest of the season, but we're looking in the future, next couple seasons. They have that experience playing together. So I like that from a Jerry Jones standpoint.
They have a first-round pick?
Like,
Cowboys? I think they do. You probably sent a
for once
pick for Surtain, right?
Yeah, I don't know if Denver will give him up. I've heard mixed signals on that. I think they're doing the classic, coming out and saying we won't trade him, but if the offer is good enough, they'll take it. They'll take it if it's good enough.
Yeah,
I think he's probably at least a first, and then maybe the year after second. He's going to be inching up to the multiple first-round picks, in my opinion. I think he is one of the better cornerbacks and
he's
very controllable, very, very good young player. So they're going to have to part with a decent amount for him, but at the same time, you're adding a piece that gives you a great amount of future value as well. So
like 3.5 years on his contract still, because he's got the 5th-year extension coming.
Exactly.
So that's
exactly.
super valuable.
So Diggs will be, Diggs will be up one more year before him, but you're getting 3 years of those two guys. That would be pretty amazing.
I think you're right.
Bengals, love the idea of bringing in Zach Ertz. I was kind of on the same path with mine. I was thinking Hunter Renfrow. I like the idea of adding somebody who's very good at shorter routes, somebody who can get open on short 2, 3, 4 yards type of routes. I think that really opens it up for Chase and Higgins. I think that'd be very interesting to watch should Joe figure out what the heck's going on with his leg. And then lastly, I do think Brian Burns, from what I'm hearing, and this is one of the few pieces that I will say that I am officially hearing on this podcast, that Burns is not going to be touched. Yeah, I don't think Burns is going to move at all with Panthers. They really see him in the future as a piece of their defense that they really want to keep a hold of. So I don't think he would go, but I do agree. Danielle Hunter, great pickup, outside linebacker / defensive end, great pickup for the Jags. Really great person. If you pair that with Josh Allen, you can get some serious pass rushing in there. That'd be very, very cool.
Hell yeah. Brilliant. Love it, James. And Mr. Andrew.
Cowboys, I think they need Jeremy Chin. That is going to be someone that can help shore up the run defense, help the back end. He's someone that the Panthers aren't going to extend. It's going to be a very exciting addition to that defense. Kind of gives me Cam Chancellor vibes with Dan Quinn. Now for the Bengals, I was also thinking of Hunter Renfrow, a guy who helped move the chains. You don't have to rely on going deep all the time. Jamar Chase, I mean, he guy just gets open. But unfortunately, the Raiders don't know how to use him, or he said something racist. I'm not sure. So they're just putting him on ice.
He has to be pretty good at his job to get away with saying certain racist things.
I don't know, dude. It's the Raiders. You can say some racist on the Raiders and be okay.
It's not the Oakland days, Anthony. We're in a new time now.
Maybe he said something progressive openly in the Raiders locker room, and you're like, "This guy's a pussy. Let's sit him."
Biden's not that bad, guys.
Now for the Bills, I agree. I think they need a running back. But I want to go back to Zach Moss. They need to bring him back to their team. Why not do a Nigerian buyback? Yeah. This is a guy who has power. He can catch and he can move the chains. And he just doesn't cost a lot of money. Like the Bills have extreme cap issues. And, as much as I want to take back Derrick Henry, I just really don't know how much he has left in his legs.
Yeah, I would assume the Bills would send over a pretty hefty draft pick, and the Titans would eat a lot of that salary in return for him. That would be my take on it. How the Bills make that work is just with draft capital. Is that everything, Mr. Andrew? You got all your teams in?
Yep, that's it.
Brilliant. Mr. Miles, I'll let you close it out for us.
Sure. I largely agree with you guys on the Bills and the Jaguars. Also the Bengals for the most part. I think a tight end makes sense. I would also say O-line. Basically, I'm saying Joe needs help somehow. Dallas is where I think I might go a little bit different direction because, to be honest, while I think Diggs is incredible and arguably irreplaceable, Bland's been doing a pretty good job coming into that role. He hasn't been shitting the bed, so to speak. I really think where Dallas would benefit would actually be by having another like stud running back because they only have Pollard right now. I think where Dallas was having the most success was when their guy was Zeke and Pollard kind of came in and was like, holy shit, this guy fucks too. I think if we had two Dallas running backs that fuck, so to speak, we'd be fucking a lot more and it would be overall better for the team.
So that's an interesting thought. I mean, obviously, Anthony, since he put that out into the universe,
Eckler makes a lot of sense.
Dude, shut the fuck up. That's not funny. don't talk like that.
You're the one who brought it up.
You're the one. Honestly, I was thinking Derrick Henry until you brought up Eckler, so it's your fault.
If Eckler ever ends up in a Cowboys jersey, I don't know if I can watch football anymore. The
only other team, and it's Jamie because you mentioned it, the Denver Broncos. They literally said it's all for sale. They've proven that they've got three like decent running backs. I mean, we all know Javonte Williams if he stays healthy. He knows what he's doing back there. It was Jaleel McLaughlin that came in and
they got P. Ryan and Javonte Williams.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a trio there. If they're really trying to rebuild in Denver or whatever, they could sell one of those guys. But Eckler would be pretty sick. I know a lot of my friends here in Dallas would be quite happy with that.
Oh my gosh, he's like Zeke 3.0.
It would be 400% more sales than Taylor Swift had for Kelsey if Eckler comes to Dallas.
I love how much they're in love, by the way. And that has been the whole segment. If you haven't listened to our gambling podcast, listen to it. It's already up on the channel. My name's Jamie Jakes. Please subscribe, leave a comment, leave a like. You can follow me at JAMJKS on X, which I recently got over 500 followers on.
Just keep making those hot takes where people tell you how much you suck at football.
It works. Yeah. Because the people who just leave a like and politely move on, they'll follow you. The people who are in the reply section, though, they will not mute you. They will not block you. They will not follow you, but they will talk shit.
Which means that they're literally looking you up every once in a while just so they can.
I'm in their algorithm because they reply to every one of my posts. It's brilliant, and it drives engagement, and that's what we love, engagement. Mr. Miles Francis, where can we engage with you online?
You can follow me everywhere online at Mr. Most Days Off.
Hell yeah. Insider James, Insider Andrew are not public figures. I'll let them officially sign off after the gambling podcast, which we haven't recorded yet in real life. And then I will let Mr. Anthony Ramoz close us out here. If he's not frozen.
No, I'm not frozen.
Hell yeah.
Wait, just where people can follow me?
Yeah, dude.
That's how podcast works, bro.
Oh, yeah, dude. You can find me on Instagram at Hey Ramoz. That's HEYRAMOZ. And all my other stuff is on there.
Hell yeah. Good night.